Welcome to another episode of It's a Long Beach Thing. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and like us on It's a Long Beach Thing. We have a great Facebook group all about Long Beach. We have another great show for you today. Hospitality is the word today. We have my friend Zana here. How are you today?
Hi, I'm so well. Thank you so much for having me. How are you, Paul?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm so well. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. We met a few weeks ago in Belmont Shore, and we kept in touch. And you are in the coaching space, so I'm thinking, well, I gotta network with you. I gotta get to know you because I feel that the more we network with people, the more we grow, and the more that we get our name out there.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And it's not only about networking for me per se, but it's also just always finding out amazing stories about people. Because I feel like every human in this planet goes through so many things that when you see them and when you first meet them, you would never think of. And when you have the privilege of gaining trust with them and they share parts of their real truth, that's really what for me makes it so much more exciting to meet people. Obviously, business is one thing, obviously, but it's also the human part that connects us and that we need each other, right? Like we need to know that we can trust people. We need to know that we can develop friendships, even though maybe no business will come out of it. But like really, that human part is really what drives me.
Absolutely. I think that's an important point that you make up because, when people think about networking or go to networking events or talk to
Mhm.
different people,
Mhm.
they tend to feel like they should get some sort of direct benefit of that business or whatever. And and if you go into it with that mindset, you're going to be extremely disappointed about networking. Networking
Right.
is building a connection of people. Like I don't know if you saw this commercial. It's been a few years back now. It's the Verizon commercial where a
Mhm.
guy would get on the phone, go, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?" And he would have his network, and it would be a network of people behind him. And that's what networking is about: is having a group of people that you work with, that you interact with, and down the road, indirectly, things happen for you through business because of this. Because down the road, somebody's going to say, "Oh," they're going to have a conversation. Go, "Oh, I have the exact person that will help you with that," and that's what it's
Right.
all about: building those connections. So I'm really excited to dive into this. But let's start from the beginning. What's your association with this great city of Long Beach?
So I before I moved to Long Beach, I actually lived in the city of Corona. And at the time, my husband had suggested to me because I always wanted to live close to the beach. And he then suggested to me we should move to Long Beach. And at first, I was kind of like apprehensive because I'm not from this country. I'm from Europe. And, to be honest with you, Long Beach, I personally, at that time, only knew from movies like Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood. And, and even though those stories were real in those movies to me, because I watched them in the movie theater, I did never think, number one, that those stories are real. But when I moved here, I met people that were really, helping me to understand the truth of that. And therefore, I was a bit apprehensive to move to Long Beach because all I knew was those movies, and that's it. And I knew that Snoop Dogg is from here, you know? And so to me, I was like, I don't know. But then we came here and, we obviously drove around and it blew me away from the minute I entered the city of Long Beach. And now I live here almost 7 years. And to me, it really does not matter even what part of Long Beach. There's so many beautiful pockets all over, and the city is so huge, which I had no realization of how big really a city can be. And yeah, that's kind of like my association with Long Beach. But obviously, I learned to love it. It grew on me because of so many reasons. I feel being from Europe, Long Beach is one of those cities that reminds me very much on Europe. The fact that people, ride bikes, the fact that people run outdoors, that they walk, that they say, that you have all these cafes where you can sit outdoors, and the restaurants have outdoor spaces, and you don't necessarily need a car. I mean, obviously, a car is a huge privilege to have, but even if you were not to have a car, you can totally get around with like a bicycle or like a little scooter, or, and Long Beach itself offers so many amazing, even free things for their people.
Mhm.
And I think that's really, I mean, I'm sure other cities, I'm not trying to be all like Long Beach and everybody else sucks, not at all, but
That's okay. That's why we're here.
yeah, but I feel like, the climate of it is beautiful. Maybe not this summer because this summer is a little hot. But in general, I feel like the climate is beautiful. It's never too hot, it's never too cold. You can, go for yoga if you like that, if you're into that. You can, you can get organic bread, you can get gluten-free bread. You have all these beautiful stores that literally accommodate every single person, and even the restaurants, for instance, on Second. There's so many restaurants that are so health care focused, with what ingredients they cook, and for everybody's, let's say, metabolism, there's something that you can find.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's really what kept me here and what drew me more to love Long Beach, just because it's so diverse too. Like, you can have the bougie parts if you like, but you
Mhm.
can also have the total artsy and total bohemian and chill and relax, and it's super kid friendly. It's family oriented, but it also doesn't leave out singles. So I feel like it's kind of like an overall thing where really, no matter in what life space you are or in life phase you are currently in, I feel like Long Beach definitely can help you to, either develop or evolve or maintain or stay grounded or jump to the next level or whatever.
I got to tell you, I think Rex Richardson, the mayor, needs to hire you to be his marketing guru, because I think that was fantastic.
Yeah, sure. I'm down for it. I'm always open to share my inner truth.
So no,
Um,
I think it's fascinating. You're from Europe, you mentioned. So
mhm,
talk about your voyage from Europe, I believe in Germany, to the
mhm.
States.
So obviously, when you decide to go from your home roots to another country and build new roots, you will always have certain things where you're like, and it really, to me, and I think every immigrant would agree with me, it doesn't matter how many long years you are away and you think you're rooted and you think you settled and you have everything you desire or not or whatever, you always have certain things that only have your specific hometown. Like for me in Germany, my favorite place in Germany, in Berlin, is a place called Gendarmenmarkt.
Mm.
And it's my absolute safe haven. Literally, every time when I would feel any kind of emotion that I needed to digest, I would go there, because you have the French Dome, you have you have like you have these beautiful architectural buildings that help me. And I felt like I'm in an outdoor opera. And so that, for instance, I can't have here. Like it's certain things that or my specific loved bakery that I went through 2 years, like a specific bakery chain that simply doesn't exist here, or like specific things that really is so typical for Europe in general, and then Germany, because it's very specific. I mean, Europe is quite big. And so, you can have real gelato ice cream in Rome the same way you can have it here. You
Mm.
can come close to it, but I'm not saying this one or that one is better. I'm just saying, when you move your hometown and your home country, there will always be something in here that cannot be filled, no matter what you have and what you accomplished or whatever, right? Because it's your root, it's
Yeah,
where you're from, like
yeah,
it's, your core.
yeah.
But on the flip side, I must admit that the reason why I chose the United States and Pacific for me was that I always appreciated the ability to really grow when you have it in you. Like when you are really a go-getter and you have a goal in your mind and you are wanting to achieve that goal, I feel like this country gives you fantastic opportunities to do that. Fantastic. Without even having to be 100 years at one job, without even having to be 100 years in one position, without even you know what I'm saying? Like it's very like when you can and you want to, you will be able to.
Hmm.
And in Europe, it's a little bit different because everything has very much structure and procedure, and it takes a while. And So again, I'm not saying this one is better or that one is not. I'm just saying, to me, this was one of the biggest reasons I really wanted to always come to America, because, when they say in the movies, from a dishwasher to a millionaire, in all honesty, I really did experience that in my own personal life, in my surroundings, through friends and, people that grew to me, because you really can. Like, that's not just something that they say because it sounds nice, but it's actual really reality.
Mhm.
And so I thought that was always so cool, about, and then, the language, the slang, the, certain sayings that you guys have, like, it's, I mean, certain words just sound much more cooler than when you would translate them in
Yeah.
German. And then, entertainment wise, like, I feel like nobody can play with America when it comes to your, concerts, how you do that, your, football, your halftime of that. And I mean, it's amazing.
Mhm.
So it's many things that, of course, Europe and Germany has too, that you guys don't have.
Yeah. Oktoberfest, right?
Yes, for instance, Oktoberfest and amazing Christmas markets, for instance.
Yeah.
Where you kind of like bundle up and you have your shawl and your little glühwein and you go for your bratwurst and you play your little games. Like in the fair here, you do that outdoors in the winter,
Mm.
on those markets, and it's beautiful. Like, you have lights everywhere. It's cold. You drink your hot glühwein. Like, it's, yeah.
That's cool. What came to me when you were talking is gratitude, because I'm from this
Mhm.
country, so I don't
Yeah.
know other
Right.
cultures as well as you do, and the
Right.
fact that you're saying that really sticks to me, because that I feel like, oh, that's how it is. With
Mhm.
being able to go out and just do what you want to do. I've been raised that way because I was in this country, but not. But it's a fair point that you make, that not all countries are that way, and you don't
Yeah.
have those advantages in every country, but in the States you do. So that's something that, me personally, sometimes I take
Mhm.
that for granted, and I appreciate you letting me know that, hey, this is a good thing that you guys have here going on in the United States. And I would have struggled with that, because I'm the type of
Mhm.
person that likes to just dive in the pool and then have a plan second, which is not always the greatest thing, but that's kind of
Right.
how I kind of roll. So I would really have to really adjust in other cultures, because that might not be a winning
Yeah.
solution. I'm not saying that it's always a winning solution here in the States
Right.
either, but it's actually helped me to grow as a human being doing it that way. So that's really cool.
And
So
it's not necessarily that you don't have the opportunity over there. You absolutely do. It's just the time span of it that it would take much longer. For
mm,
instance, here, like, I'm from the hospitality business, so, I'm gonna take myself as an example. When I came here, I started as a waiter, normal, right? And then very quickly, though, very, very quickly, I was able to go up
mm,
from, lead server to shift manager to assistant restaurant manager to restaurant manager to assistant GM. Like, it was very, very fast, because people around you, when they see that, they will help you to get there, and nobody will stop you. Like, I mean, of course, there's always people that are trying to stop you again, but in general, the time span of really wanting to accomplish your goal, or just opening a business, for instance, here. Let's just stick with that. Simple. If you just want to get an LLC here,
mhm,
it's such a hassle over there. It's
mhm.
not as simple as it is here. So really, those are the things I'm absolutely referring to, and that's, I feel like, is something I'm very grateful for in general. But I'm also very grateful that I come from over there, because over there, again, the difference of it in job situations is, when you work in a job, you don't just get 2 weeks of training, right? You literally have to go to school. You have to get a degree for almost every job you're trying to do, and then it's not easy to swing. So if you
Mm.
choose to be in a bank, and now you choose to be working in a different area or different department of something of your interest, you have to do school all over.
Wow.
So, and here, okay, today I want to be a banker, tomorrow I want to go to the flower shop,
Yeah.
and maybe in a month or so, I want to work at a bakery, right? And so those flexibilities is really what I'm referring to, that this country is so amazing in offering people. if you want to.
Absolutely. And there's a lot I want to tackle, but what you said about in Germany especially was, if you got into a field of work, you have to, do some studies and then get into it. And
Right.
then if you want to do something else, you're back to square one and get studies somewhere else. And
Yeah,
I'm concerned about that going forward in the future because technology is going so quickly that it's changing people's jobs so quickly. So that's very,
yeah,
very hard for a country to say, okay, this is your job. Oh, technology changed it. This job's wiped out. Now go back to school and learn something
yeah.
else. There's less flexibility there.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, I'm speaking out of my own experience when I used to live in Germany. I mean, I'm in America since quite a while now, so I obviously don't want to speak on things how they are currently and today,
Mhm.
even in the last 10 years,
Yeah.
because I simply didn't live there. I'm just speaking from my own experience, how it was for me and what made me really consider come to this country and what still considers me staying in this country versus going back
Mhm.
to Germany, for instance. And so yeah, but technology in general, I think technology is a great thing. Don't get me wrong. The only concern that me personally I have with that is I feel like it takes a bit away that human interaction and that human ability to literally what we talked about at the beginning to actually build because you cannot you cannot build true trust with a human being on an app over text, over email, or over even fly by coffee for 10 minutes. Like
Mhm.
you literally have to have the time and the willingness to invest in a human to really build trust because everybody has trauma, regardless of small, tiny, back in the days, current, whatever. We all have trauma from somewhere and we all trust differently in our different time frames in our different ways, and if we then meet people that are so quick to then we miss opportunities but they are too, right? And so this whole technology is wonderful and I wish we could maybe just use majority of technology to focus on curing what really needs to be cured in the world, like diseases or like problems or like issues that maybe only a smart computer can figure out, versus we're replacing certain things of humanity through a computer because it's so much quicker and it's so much more convenient and it's so much more less expensive.
Mhm.
And so I battle with it. I'm not hating on it. That's not what I'm trying to say, because I absolutely use technology for myself in my private life too. But I'm very people oriented. I'm very, very, very people oriented. And I cannot imagine everything being replaced and just a robot serving you your coffee in the morning, or you go to your favorite donut shop and there's no, hey, how are you? And is everything okay? Oh, I saw your dog. And you go all the time, you get to know the people, like you fun things about those things is because you go because of the people,
Yeah.
right? Like that's mainly why we go certain places or we meet certain individuals again, because we feel something that is impossible to build over a screen. Impossible. You can have great, how do you say that in English? Writing chemistry.
Mhm.
Yeah. Texting, how some people suck at texting and some are
Yeah.
amazing. So if you have somebody that's really good and you vibe with them, yeah, sure. But the person to person, it cannot be replaced.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be replaced.
Yeah. I think a lot of that is we kind of have to have trust in humanity
Right.
that we have this technology and a lot of things are going to be easier as a result of that, but we don't lose that, what I'm going to say in my own words, that personal touch, that human
Right.
connection. And it's up to,
Yeah.
the future generations to connect it. And but the thing is about it is like the thing we can't do is be afraid of it because it's going to
Right.
happen. So we kind of have to embrace it. But like you said, keep the what makes us great people is that human connection. So I'm totally for with what you're saying. So it's all about trusting that next generation and hoping that they
Right.
they make the right decisions on that. And yeah, I mean, think that's right. I mean, we can go down a rabbit hole talking about that, but I want to talk about you. So you talked about a little bit. You talked about the American dream, and you were starting to go into it a little bit. So you came to this country as a server, and you kind of worked your way up the ladder. So kind of go over that with us.
So I did not necessarily came into this country as a server. I came into this country on a visa exchange program called J1.
Uh-huh.
And I was hired to work in a country club in Florida, in a really upscale country club in West Palm Beach. And within the country club, you had all kinds of positions. And you were not hired for a specific positions, but you were hired to be a jumper and to be used in any department that the country club would need you for. And because I've been in hospitality, obviously, previously before I came to America, almost 10 years in Germany and in Switzerland, when I came to the specific country club, I was placed in a restaurant where I was very bored, in all honesty. I did not learn anything mentally because everything that they were trying to teach the people that came from all over the world is how to carry plates, how to remove plates, how to, like how to set up a table, what silverware to use, what glasses to use. They try to teach about wine, and all of that I already knew. So for me, it was a little bit boring because I was not challenged. So I had a conversation with the GM of the country club, and I had asked him, is there any way I can be staying because I love it here? But is there any way I can be in a different apartment where I'm also learning something? Because I'm very mentally, like it drives me mentally to learn. And he was like, sure, how about you go into the golf shop? Perfect. So here I was, not knowing anything about golf. I never played golf. I never even watched golf. I had no idea about golf. Like, I know golf existed, obviously, but what gloves, what balls, what this, what, no idea. And so they stuck me in the golf shop, and that was perfect for me because I was on the premises. I was with the other people that were on the same visa situation like I was, so I had my social connections, but I also learned something. And from there, really things evolved because when over there my time was done, I wanted to stay. And so my general manager again came up to me and said, look, my friend that works at Mar-a-Lago, the general manager of Mar-a-Lago, is looking for people. Do you want to stay? Yes, I want to stay. And so then I transferred to Mar-a-Lago. And then really my whole story started from there because at one point I did not want to be any more tied to any visas. I would wanted to work for people and restaurants and hotels and country clubs of my choice. And that was very challenging because it came with a lot of things that I didn't encounter at the beginning, like, getting them to sponsor me. And it sounds so simple, but really was the hardest part of it all.
Mm.
Getting them to sponsor me was so difficult because they did not want to pay your visa fees, your lawyer fees. It comes a lot with sponsoring somebody, like it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of proving to the government why you now need to stay and not some American can do the job that you are now needing to do. So it's a lot involved and nobody really wanted to do that. But, I found my way. I found a few independent restaurant owners that I loved working for, and they loved me too, and they sponsored me. And that's really how my story evolved more. And years went by, and I stayed. And obviously, every year I went home. And in between, my visas got, they were finished. So I had to leave the country. So I was two times in between for 9 months home, waiting for a new visa, waiting for this. So it was a lot.
That's tremendous. I kudos to you to have that tenacity, knowing that you wanted to stay in this country and
Yeah,
showing that it wasn't going to be that easy finding sponsors. It does not sound easy to me,
not at all.
especially with the paperwork and then the financial commitment to it as well. That's
Yeah.
definitely very, very hard. So kudos to you. Obviously, your work ethic has to be top notch for these restaurants to go out on the limb, not only with their time, but with their financial, because I know as well as you know more than I do, but restaurants, especially, their margin of profitability is very, very thin. So for them
Yeah.
to shell out money for something kind of outside the restaurant for something like this, I know indirectly it does help the restaurant because they keep you,
Right.
but still, it's still a commitment to do so. So kudos to you to find restaurant owners that were willing to take a chance on you and get you into this country. That's great. So you got your visas and you go in and out. What was your thought? You're still in Florida at this point, going back and forth to Florida?
Yeah, at this point, I'm still in Florida. And then once I transitioned to California, things became a little bit different because then at that point, I was working for a specific owner, an Italian owner, and he owned 3 restaurants, one in Beverly Hills and 2 in Santa Monica. And unfortunately, none of those places exist today anymore. But he was kind of like my saving grace, transitioning from Florida to here. And it was, I don't even remember how I met him because, at that time I was dating my son's father and he was here. And so I met him somehow, the restaurant owner, and I started to talk to him and he offered to help me. And, with that, a lot of challenges came with that too, because he was a very specific personality, this restaurant owner. He was wonderful in wines and wonderful in creating food and a wonderful chef, really, really, really creative mind. But he had some other personal characteristics that were not so great. And I had to deal with that a whole lot because I was kind of like in a bind, like if I leave here, then my visa, and I can't because now I have this man I'm falling in love with. So what do? I can't, I don't want to. So obviously that came with a lot of challenges too. It wasn't as easy. And, when it comes to paying for your visas and paying for lawyers to file those visas for you, obviously you want to hire a lawyer because you, as a foreigner, you don't want to write anything wrong. You don't want to say a wrong thing. You don't want to do anything that could jeopardize them approving you. So that's a lot of money, So yes, I made money, but mind you, most of that money went right away to the lawyer for me to, pay them and pay their hourly fee and get these visas. And even one working visa is between 1,200 and 6,000. It depends what kind and how long. And I had 9. So,
Wow.
so it's definitely a struggle, like it's not like when I used to live in Canada, because in this whole journey I needed to take a break mentally, so I lived in Canada for 2 years and it was nothing comparison to here. Nothing. It was such a different experience getting a working visa in Canada than here. It was I couldn't believe it.
It was much easier.
Much easier and faster. Much easier and faster.
Interesting.
Yeah. But none of that stopped me because this was my country. This was really the place where I wanted to be. And then when you throw in love, you gain a power.
Is he an American citizen or?
He's an American citizen, yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is, I was never really into that whole I'm going to stay and we have to get married, otherwise I can't stay. I wanted to have to get married. I didn't want that in my space because I don't want to have to get to anything or anyone if this is not really our true life path.
Yeah.
And so for me, this was the only way to go with these visas because I didn't want to pressure him. I didn't want to pressure myself, and I did not want to get married for the incorrect reasons either. So, but it's hard. It was not easy, in all honesty. And there were days in between where really I was like, you know what, if this visa doesn't come through, bye-bye America for life. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But God had other plans and here we are.
So when did you start to feel basically settled into this country then?
My son.
Okay, so when your son was born is kind of when you felt like, okay, this is now my home.
Yeah. Yeah, my son. Because my son changed me in general.
Yeah, I would imagine. Motherhood.
I was one of those people that when I became a mom, it changed me. And for me, it changed me to the better.
Yeah.
Because I did have some characteristics in my own character that I would prey on for years to be released of them for years. And it wouldn't happen. It would just make it stronger, actually, in all honesty. And when my son was growing inside of me and when he was born, it just something happened internally where I was like, you know what? None of this behavior, I cannot, I will not, I will never, ever do these kind of outbursts in my character as I used to when I would get upset in front of my child.
Mm,
Because now he sees me and I don't care how old he is. He could be
yeah,
1 day or 5 years.
yeah.
That part didn't matter to me because he
Mhm.
was in my energy environment.
Love that.
And so for me, that was really like my drive to be like, you know what, I got to get it together and I will get it together this time. Like I will, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and of course it took time, you know, I'm
Yeah, of
saying it
course.
like it happened 1 day to the other. No, no,
Yeah,
you know, it took time.
yeah.
But the urge, the strength inside changed.
Mm,
Just a willingness of wanting to be this person I truly felt I was created, but had all these life events happening to me that just hindered me, that made it so hard on me to just be like, oh, here we go again, and da da da, and you know, another setback and another this, and you know, life is tough sometimes. You know,
mhm.
it throws you, you think you far, and then one thing, and you're like, what? Like a card house, all done again from the beginning.
Yeah,
So you know, it's hard, but for me it was my child.
that's wonderful. And then you know, like, and there's no book, right? There's no special book to say this is how you become a perfect mother.
No,
It doesn't exist because
no,
there's no such thing as a perfect mother. So, you know,
no.
you went through, like every mother has to go through their trials and
Yeah,
experiences because every child's different, and what might work for one child doesn't work for another child. So it's kind of like a
yeah,
trial and error type of experience, and it's a trial and error experience for the rest of your life, which is a beautiful thing.
totally, totally. And then, you know, every mom receives it differently too, you know,
Mhm.
like some moms experience specific things during, after, while they're pregnant, and some moms just don't. Some moms
Yeah,
have really easy breezy kids. They sleep from the minute they come out of you until they're
yeah.
like 3 years old. And some children, like my son, would never sleep. Never. I was sleep deprived for the first year and a half. I'm not kidding you. If
Mm,
I was lucky, I got maybe 2 hours the whole day.
Jeez, I'd be a walking
So,
zombie if I lived my life like that.
you know, and so that part is also different too for every human to experience, you know.
Yeah,
And just because maybe one child was this way does not mean your second one will same way. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Your hormones is a really interesting topic too, because
yeah,
you can't control it. You think you can, but you're not in control of your hormones when you go through that type of transition inside. You can't, it's uncontrollable.
yeah. Well, I'm not going to pretend to know because I don't know. I won't know. So
Right.
I'll definitely take your word for that, and I heard that from other females as well. So I understand that. So while raising your child, which obviously you're still doing that, but during the early ages of you raising your child, um, were you working or were you stay-at-home mom, or how that concept go?
So I was a little bit of everything in all honesty. So I did not really want it to be a homestay mom just because my first year and a half to 2 years were really difficult with my son.
Mhm,
Me just adjusting being a mom and all those things. And then in between, my mom died too. So it was really a lot for me.
mhm.
And I didn't want it to give up, you know, hospitality in any kind of way. But what I instead did, I started my own business. I started to create it. Let's just say it. You know, I started on my website. I started on my concept. I started on my business plan. I went through a bunch of mixers just to get my feet wet. I was trying to understand how I can really go about this idea because the way my business is not really something that is out there and 1,000 people are doing it, which is actually a good thing. But you know, if you're one of the first, it's harder
Yeah.
to break into a niche like that.
Mhm.
And you know, in between, I would have like little part-time gigs here and there just to get myself out. But I was mentally and emotionally really needing a lot of healing internally because it was such big transition with my son in general and his health and my mom dying that I almost didn't even I wasn't even able to function 100%. So, once I passed all of that and once we kind of like, came up with our own groove and everything, I really then honed in on my own business. And I obviously needed time from my mom's passing to get over that, because that just really crushed me. So, a lot of life events happen in a very short time, and then not to mention COVID. And so it's been a little bit more challenging, let's just say. But for me, I always focused on the other areas that, again, naively, I didn't think I needed to, creating my business, such as YouTube and Instagram and reels and content. And I was just like, I'm going to have a cute website and some business cards, and here we go.
Mm.
Right. And no, it wasn't like that at all. And so I learned that. And so while I was going through that emotional being broken and really putting my own pieces back together with myself, I focused on those parts behind the scenes.
Mm. So tell me about your business.
So my business is really, I like to refer myself as a hospitality coach. I don't like to say consultant, even though I am doing consulting. Obviously, we have conversations about budgeting and about money, about investments and all of that. So it is consulting, yes. But I focus more on the front of the house, which is really restaurants, hotels, casinos, country clubs, anybody that really has guest service or office guest service. Therefore, I focus on really training their staff in appropriate ways of like carrying plates, removing plates, resetting a table, champagne service, wine service, cigar service, upselling, hiring, conflict resolution, management. Like that's part B, like how do we really get our managers really to be good, strong leaders, and how can we really, through the managers that we have, accomplish a really healthy work environment. And when I say healthy work environment, I'm not saying every day we come to work and we have rainbow and unicorns and pink bubbles. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that we are creating functioning and acceptable workplaces where bullying and jealousy and talking down people's backs and gossiping is really not a part of that, just because we are all working in the same house, right? Like we're all under the same roof trying to get our money, because either we're temporary here, we here because we want to grow in our career, we here because we love the industry, or we here because we have to be. Whichever way, fundamentally, we're here to do the same thing for guests. And so that's really like my focus with management, is that we understand it is a business and we want to make money, but also we work with people, right? And people have problems sometimes, and people are broken, and people are sad, and people are depressed, and people are happy, and they're excited, and they're everything sometimes at once. And you as a manager are really like the mom, the dad, the brother, the sister,
The therapist.
that you're everything on your floor, if you're a good manager, because you understand your people and you have with each of your own employees a bond that you see when they come to work. You see something is off. And I'm not saying we're going to have a kumbaya moment on the floor when we need to make business, but certainly after or way before prior, it's going to be acknowledged like, hey, I see you. Let's get through the shift. And after that, we're going to go and have a nice cappuccino in the back. And then we'll talk if you want to talk. And I'm not saying to get all personal, but I'm saying you have to have a fine line between I'm manager and I'm saying what's happening, or I'm owner, investor, or whatever. But I also understand that those are people that come to build your dream for you, right? They're not building their own dream. They're building stuff for you. And for that, purely for that, they have to be respected, have to. And that's really my philosophy of when I train managers or when I work with owners, is really, that's really important to me. Like I want owners to have the expectation of, when I'm opening my doors to you and I hire you, I want you to be fair to my guests. I want you to be fair to my other employees. I want you to not lie. I don't want you to be late, and I don't want you to gossip about anybody else. Those are kind of like my main rules. But in return, I would like the other person to, do the very same. Like pay me on time. If you see I do good, promote me. if you see I have drive of learning, help me to either enroll in like a wine class or sponsor a wine class, or once in a while bring somebody a sommelier. So like help your people to educate themselves if that's really what your staff wants. If they say they need new trays, please get new trays. If they say the tipping process is not working for the whole team, then please change it. Because they're the ones working on your floor. They should be wanting to come here. And to you, it shouldn't really make a difference if we poll or if everybody has individual tips. And that's just one example that just flew to my mind, you know. But I know pooling tips and separating tips is a big thing. Like I came across a lot those kind of things that people complain about.
Yeah, I think that's great work, especially needed now, because I don't know what the statistic is on this, but I think at one point in time, the average restaurant fails within the first 5 years. I think if you have 10 restaurants, I don't know, is it 9 of them that fail in the first 5 years? It's a high number. Do you know what the
Yeah.
statistic is on that?
I don't exactly know, but I think it's not even 5 years. I think it's under 5 years. I
But
think
9 out
really,
of 10 fail before they even hit 5 years, is what you're saying.
no, what I'm saying is I don't think it even takes 5 years for them to fail,
So
but I
yeah,
don't
so
know
it
if
could be faster, but
it could
you
be
have
faster,
10
but
restaurants and they could fail within 3 years or even
or one
or
already.
1 year. 1 year.
Yeah,
Okay. So it's very delicate business. Very, very, like you said, there's a lot of moving parts to it. You have a
yeah,
big time human component to this. A lot of
right.
profits, a lot of things that are sometimes outside your control. And with the economy how it is today, I feel like it's slowed down a little bit. When, like for instance, when I walk Belmont Shore, for instance, I mean, Stroll and Sabre was different, but like when I walk Belmont Shore, when there's nothing really going on, I've noticed a little bit less in the restaurants. A lot because of just prices going up, not because the restaurant industry is being greedy. They got to raise their prices because
Right,
all their goods have gone up. So
right,
that's not on them. It's just the way of inflation. So
right.
with all these things happening in the economy, and unfortunately things like restaurants are the first to get hit on the economy because it's kind of a luxury thing, right? Going out to
Yeah,
eat is a luxury as opposed to cooking at home. So, with that being said, with kind of things changing, and it's the economy, so that today might be low, and then tomorrow, or down the road, it might change. It will change.
right, right.
Who knows when that will happen, but it will. So, with that being said, what kind of advice would you give somebody who wants to get into get into the restaurant business, own a restaurant? Because I know a lot of people, especially people such as yourself who've been in the industry for many years and know kind of the ins and outs of it, and have it kind of in their blood. Those are a lot of the people that I feel are the ones that succeed in the business because they're the ones that have done the work from the ground up.
Right.
So there's a lot of people that I know that are in the industry that's their dream. Their dream is to own a restaurant and operate a restaurant, and to not just own
Right,
one restaurant, but own several restaurants in
right.
the area and stuff like that. So, uh, what would your advice be to somebody trying to break into this, knowing all this?
I think what I really like to start off with by saying is, regardless if you're starting to have a restaurant or if you already own one, I feel like communication and being very clear on your expectations of who you are in your space. You can have a food truck, doesn't matter. You can have a restaurant, you can have a mom and pop's pancake shop, it doesn't matter. But you need to understand for yourself who you really are, who you're representing. What is your why? Why did you open this space? Or why are you going to be a pancake shop? Why are you going to be a sushi place? Like, what is your why? Right? I think that's very important to understand. And once you figured out your why and you have already staff, I feel like a big problem is that the staff is unclear of the heritage of the space that they're being hired for, which means is why was this restaurant created the way it is? What are the house rules? How is this restaurant really functioning? And in general, every restaurant functions the same way, right? We have a host, she seats you, a waiter comes, you get your order, and you leave, right? Kind of like that's the whole thing. But in that space, there's many steps. So for instance, if your host has no idea, for instance, that you offer vegan dishes, now you get a call and the host has no idea. What does she say on the phone? I don't know. It's bad already. So this is why I'm saying, regardless if you have a restaurant or will have a restaurant, understand that your first part of success will be to relate and communicate your internal things very clearly to your staff. Not only to your waiters that maybe they think are the money makers, which they are main parts, like bartenders, but your maitre d' is also a big, big, big part. But if they don't know what's happening, if they don't know the position numbers, they don't know the seat numbers, they don't know the floor plan, they have no idea about the menu, they don't know if a chef just changed or not, like these internal things that are imperative to know, then we relating messages to our guests in a wrong way. And now we're having guests sitting with different impressions, with the wrong impression of what we are, what we're trying to do, because it was simply not related to them, because maybe the person didn't even know. And so I feel like communication is very clear. Like it has to be very clear. Like, who are you? What are you trying to do? What is really your menu? And really allow your staff that you're hiring to really understand that. I feel like, to me, I don't care what's on your resume. It's impressive if somebody has a beautiful resume. Absolutely. Absolutely. But the questions matter more. So if I'm in the middle of hiring somebody for my restaurant, wouldn't it make more sense for me to actually ask real life scenarios, how this person would handle something, to me, to see how would you act? Let's do a role play. I'm a guest, you're my server. This is the scenario, right then and there. That lets me know, oh, okay, this person can handle. I'm not saying to be rude and to test them and to throw them off, but fundamentally, if I hire you for my house, it's more important for me to know how you react because I'm asking you the correct questions, or it's more important for you to show me a piece of paper where you write everything you want to write on. And so I feel like when somebody's opening a restaurant, I think that's really important, like understand if you're not from the restaurant industry and you want to be a fine dining restaurant and you want to have good wine, how do you even get there? Do you know a sommelier? How do you hire one? How do you ask the right questions, a specific sommelier you want to hire for your space? How do you even know how much to pay this person if you're not from the industry? You see, a lot of people, they invest in hospitality, but they're not from the industry. But then now we have the space, but we don't know what to ask, who to hire, where to go. And now we wonder 1 year later, our place is closed. Yes, because you wanted fine dining restaurant, but you had no idea about sommelier or wine.
Yeah, that's,
who's going to create your wine list?
mm-hmm.
Who's going to do that? You want fine dining restaurant? Who's going to cook your fine dining dishes? And let alone fine dining. It doesn't matter if you're fine dining or you're a burger place. That doesn't matter to me either. But if I'm burger place, if I'm steak place, please have correct steak knives. Understand that you need to have the right tools again for your guests to feel. If I get a burger, I would always serve a nice steak knife, no matter what. Because a female eating burger like this, when she's on a nice date, she might feel more comfortable having a knife. And Europeans is funny maybe to hear, but we Europeans, we eat with knife and fork almost everything. I'm just saying, like, it's, you want to stand out from anybody that has the same idea like you. But how do you do that? Well, you do that by offering service that is international and world traveler known. So I eat in your restaurant in Long Beach, or I go to Italy somewhere and I get the same service. How come? Because your servers are trained. Because you hire somebody that is from the industry and helps you to set all of that up. And I'm not saying that's the main key. I'm saying it certainly will help, because a person like that can point out things, traps, mistakes that can be already avoided from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. And so, because like you said, breaking into the restaurant industry it's not easy at all. And doesn't matter how much money you have, in a sense. Okay, maybe that part does, it's not true. If you're a billionaire, it's no problem.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, if you have money to obviously go this route, you don't want to waste it either, right? Like, you don't want to burn through money if you don't have to.
Yeah. So,
Right.
at what stages do most of your clients hire you? Are they in the stage where they're just starting out, or are they in the stage like, oh crap, I'm about to close, I need you to come in and fix me? So where is your kind of niche in this?
It's really everywhere, in all honesty. It's really, I'm not even able to pinpoint it exactly where and what, because it's kind of really everything. It's from a startup. It can be from a place that literally just opened, just wants to get an extra boost. It could be just as simple as, look, my restaurant is cool, my menu is cool, I'm good. The only thing that sucks are my servers. Come help me. Or the only thing that sucks are my bartenders. Or the only thing that sucks is my food runners, or whatever. Or I just need help in finding good people. Help me with the hiring process. You just sit there and do the hiring process for me. It could be as simple as that. It could be also just as simple as being called to a hotel and just give them an observation report. I'll stay there for 2 nights. I'll give you a full-blown report, what I seen, what I observed, and your manager can execute this report. You don't really need me for that. I will point exactly, like, it's so clear that all you have to go is from the entrance, from the moment I drive on your premises till the moment I leave your premises, from everything, exterior, interior, design, smell, bathrooms, food, dishes, sizing, pool, whatever amenities you have. All of this will be on this report. And all you need to do is literally go through this report and make the suggested changes. That's all. If you don't want to further invest into working with me, for instance, or some other coach, in a sense, And then for me, it's also very important, because when I went to seminars myself, when I went to seminars or like coaching something, what really always bugged me, in all honesty, was the fact that it was great information for the hour and a half or 2 or 3 you're sitting in the seminar, but then it's over and it's done. And for me, in all honesty, I feel it made more sense for my business to be a little bit different, where we do exactly that too, but then I'll stay with your staff. I'll stay with your team for a period of time between 3 days and maybe 7 days. And then we together now implement all the learned materials that we just spoke about. Because remember, if people that are being hired, or managers or owners, are not from the industry, or they're doing this the very first time because they're fresh out of college and they have this beautiful heart and they have this beautiful people personality, but they don't know the techniques, it's going to take them a little minute to implement that, not just by one time telling them. They have to be able to see you. They need somebody on the floor to be like, hey, look, remember how you just did this and this? Okay, that was good, but try next time this and then you show them. They shadow you, almost like a temporary manager, without me being hired by them. Does that make sense? And so for me, that was very important, because I don't just want to say and teach and leave. I want you to remain successful.
So how long do you spend with your clients from day one to when you leave? What's the average time period?
It's between 10 days and 3 weeks, or
Okay.
4 weeks. It really depends. Is it a hotel? Is it a restaurant? Do we have several other restaurants? Is it one restaurant, or is it multiple chains now? Is it something that we should implement in all the other places at the same time? Or should we just start here and move forward? Are you having different concepts? Like sometimes people have many places or multiple hotels, but they have different concepts. One is kids oriented only, the other one is adult oriented only. So obviously in all those, there's different things that need to be implemented and considered. But yeah, something like that, between 10 days, I'll say, and about 3-4 weeks. And then it also depends, what we're implementing. Because if you're a startup, it's going to be a little bit different, because I want to be there for a soft opening. I want to be there for a grand opening, right? If you're somebody that is already a full-blown restaurant, but you have complaints, any kind of complaints, it could be internally, it could be externally, it could be money, it could be revenue, it could be whatever, then also, I don't think 4 weeks are necessary, because we just need to tackle the problem.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
if somebody in the restaurant business or in the hotel business or in the hospitality business as a whole, how could they reach you?
Well, they can go on LinkedIn and find me under Zana Usher. They can find me on my website, Zana Devine Hospitality. They can find me on Instagram, Zana Hospitality, and my name is spelled Zana, but pronounced Zana. Yeah, or they can simply reach out to you.
Okay, well, cool. That sounds great. So this has been tremendous conversation, and we could actually go even longer. But
Totally.
normally I have my podcast go about an hour or so. So before we say goodbye, I always like to end it with a fun question, and I feel like you're going to have some good opinions on this because of you being in the hospitality business. Where are a few good places to eat around town in the Long Beach area?
So I'll tell you my absolute favorite place for calamari. I love their sauce that comes with it. It's pendulum. Love,
Okay,
love,
Tantalum.
love their
Okay.
calamari at Pendulum. It's wonderful, and their cocktails are amazing. If you are a steak personality, if you really like steak, 555, I can absolutely recommend. I love their servers over there too. Very attentive, very fine dining. I love it a lot. If you want a good, nice salad, like a fresh salad, no matter with what topping, shrimp or chicken or beef, I love Open Sesame on Second Street. And if you like a best piece of cake or pie, Jill's Bakery.
Jill's Bakery. Okay.
Best. Carrot cake.
I'm with you on the Jill's Bakery. That is one of my favorites. And I'm not a sweet tooth guy. But yes, there is a lot of goodies at that, and especially when just walking by, they have the
The
Disneyland thing
smell.
where they
Oh,
pump out the smell to attract you in there. So it's
totally.
marketing there.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are kind of like my some of my jewel plays, but I do cook a lot too. So
Yeah. Well, I've been to, well, the cool thing is that every restaurant you've named I've been to, and I agree, they're
okay.
all great restaurants for different
Yeah.
reasons. So I concur with your selections there. So wonderful
Yeah.
places. Is there anything that you want to leave our audience with?
Um, No, not really. I mean, just for me personally, what really drives me is just to work on other projects too, just really being led by whatever your spirit tells you. And just remember that for me, really staying connected to love is the strongest force out there in the universe. There's nothing stronger than love. So whenever, however, whatever, love will get you through it. Self-love to start with, and then everything else.
Sound advice. Well, thanks again for coming on. This has been really, really
Thank
fun
you.
to connect with you. I know I've connected with you before, but it's kind of fun
Yeah.
to connect in a podcast form. I say this all the time because I learn things about somebody else that I wouldn't have learned if I didn't do it through a podcast. So I think that's part of the fun of doing this. So thank you again for taking the time to do this. And I know
Absolutely.
things are going to thrive.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You've been a wonderful host. And thank you for the amazing energy exchange. This was really cool. Thank you.
Problem. Well, it's been a long beach thing.